Yes.
Her newest project is her memoir. It is called In the Frame, My Life in Words and Pictures. I am pleased to have Dame Helen Mirren back at this table. Look at this. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Yes, thank you.
There?
I know, my baby,
Your
one of
baby.
my many babies.
So why did you decide? And here?
Yes, yes.
So why a memoir now?
Oh, God. I was asked, you know, I've been asked over the last 10 years to write a memoir or an autobiography, and I resisted it because I couldn't think of how to do it. And then a very good friend of mine sort of suggested this picture format, which is very easy because you don't have to write so much. But
Yes,
actually,
right.
in the end, I did write. I was asked to write 15,000 words, and I wrote 56,000 words. So it sort of expanded because actually I really enjoyed the writing process.
The process or the actual, I mean, you mean the process suggests there's something about the process you enjoyed rather than simply putting your thoughts down and your feelings down.
Well, isn't that
on
sort
paper.
of the process?
Okay, fair.
You know, it's those quiet moments with the computer and your memory. My memory is terrible, but you know, memory is such a wonderful thing because you can. It's like how can I explain it? It's sort of like a river that's, or a little stream bubble, a brook that starts bubbling, and then more and more and
That's
more
exactly
stuff
what
comes.
Michael Caine once said to me. He said, it's much easier than you think.
It is.
Once you get started,
Yes.
things that you hadn't thought about, that you couldn't imagine accessing, come back to
Does
you.
they come back, and you can go on a sort of memory trip
Yeah.
of just remembering one thing. You like the walk to school in the morning, and then you remember the pavement, you remember the flower bush that you passed, you remember your uniform, you remember ironing your uniform, and then you know, and then all of these things start coming up that that you never realized you carried in your brain. The brain is a wonderful, wonderful thing.
We'll show some of these photographs, but you also, you have to face the question as to when am I being too honest, too candid, too revealing, and who might get hurt in this if I do this?
Yes, I didn't feel the need to address that because I didn't feel like attacking or criticizing anyone. There are people in my life who deserve to be attacked and criticized, but I just didn't. I don't know. It's mean-spirited and vain in a peculiar way, and I just didn't feel the need for that. I wanted the book really to be about the pleasure of my life, the love of my life, the love in my life, and you know, and on that level it came very, very easily. I put the knife into one person.
Who was that?
Oh, I'm not going to say. I'll have to find him in the pages of the book.
But you've hit on the target that I want to talk about, the pleasure of your life, the love of your life, what was inside. But let's talk about early times first. What was home like growing up with you?
Well, I grew up in an extremely small house, a family of 3 children, in a you know, a lower income sort of environment, but an environment full of contradiction, which I think was very healthy. My parents were atheists, and my father was probably a communist or you know, extreme socialist, but they sent me to a Catholic convent school. Yeah. So that in itself sort of describes the sort of wonderful sort of contradiction in my life as a kid, which I think is very healthy.
They loved to talk about issues at the dinner table.
They did. We had no television. We didn't really have a radio.
And small talk was not a big thing.
No, gossip, no. I mean, I'm not saying they were strict or made us, but they loved to talk about, you know, issues like, is there such a thing as a soul? You know, what is art? And stuff like that. And so I was always encouraged to express my opinion and to have opinions and to talk, but very much within that sort of family environment.
Yeah, where did this idea of being a performer come from?
I don't know, you know, I mean, I think it has to be genetic to a certain extent, and certainly on the Russian side of my family, there was always an interest in the theatre. In fact, one of my ancestors in Russia started, in a way, the first theatre in Russia. He started a surf theatre on his estates in Russia in the sort of, I don't know, 18th century, 17th, 18th century. And it was one of the sort of very first sort of formal theatres. But so I guess it's there. My mother was an enormous drama queen, so it might have come from my British working class side of my family. I don't know.
Now, who was it that said, I think it was it Mary Mildred, who said, beware of fear?
Mother Mary Mildred,
yeah,
yes,
she was your what?
My headmistress, a nun, you know, she was a Catholic nun in the convent school that I was. And when I went for my first interview with her, and I was, of course, extremely frightened, she just said this very wise thing, which was, beware of fear, Helen. Just be careful with fear. And it takes you many years to understand the wisdom in something like that.
Come here.
Come here.
There it is. Huh?
Yes.
When did you do that?
I did it when I did in Minnesota on an Indian reservation. My hands are cool.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's
cold.
cold. Yes, yours are warm. Well, you've been sitting in this cozy
Okay.
studio. It's
People
cold out
talk
there.
about that tattoo and why you
They
got that
do.
tattoo.
Yes, I got
That's
drunk.
the
That's why I got it.
But is it like a badge of something now?
No. Well,
You kind of like it now?
I love it now because it's become like the coolest thing.
It is.
And the straight thing to be tattooed. I mean, when I was tattooed, it was only Hell's Angels and you know, prisoners, gay prisoners who got tattooed.
And you did it because you were drunk?
Partly because I was drunk, but also because I kind of wanted a tattoo. I'd been with Peter Brook. I'd just been performing in a prison in France, and the prisoners were mostly gay, and they had these beautiful eye makeup tattooed and tears tattooed, which is the traditional prison tattoo. And I thought, I'd like a tattoo.
So why not?
That was when, as I say, nobody got tattoos. Now it has become amazingly sort of ubiquitous.
And ubiquitous, and women
Yes.
have them all over their body and all
Yes,
kinds of
especially
interesting
on
places.
all their
And
backs,
especially you see on the back, right
arms.
into where these...
Yes, which is
you know.
sexy.
What was it that got you on stage and got you interested in the National Youth Theatre and got you at the Royal Shakespeare and got you to Peter Brook's?
Well, you know, a love of the world of the imagination, I
Really?
suspect. The ability to sort of shut the rest of the world out and enter into a magical world. For me, it was Shakespeare that took me into the world of the imagination in terms of drama. And I was just so completely blown away by the first Shakespearean production I saw. What are you laughing at?
Just remembering they call you the Stratford Sex Queen.
Yeah, well, you know, what can you do? It was not my fault.
Oh, really?
No, it
Whose
was
fault
nothing.
was it?
It was the fault
Whose
of the
fault was it?
bloody journalist who wrote that. It was like...